fallacy of misplaced concretedness, making something which is not concrete into something that is physical and actual. Turning a model of a sphere, taking the idea that things in the distance don't change in their value being called height. So a 10-foot wall is going to be a 10-foot wall at 10 miles, 20 miles, 100 miles, 1,000 miles. Doesn't matter what I draw inside elevation. If I've got a side profile of something, let's just put this picture back on screen. You've got your head side of it on the left-hand side of the observation and your target on the right-hand side of the observation. So in this particular depiction, the mathematics of geometry that make up your sphere religion, you are seeing the side of your own head. So that's the first problem. Second problem is, this line, donkey dick tangent line that you now have, you can write whatever value you like on that line. So I can say H is a 10-foot wall and O is me. And I can say that this line represents a distance of 10 meters between me and it. Or I can say this line represents 1,000 meters or 1,000,000 kilometers. And this value at H for the 10-foot wall is still going to be 10 foot. That's where you fundy morons ask us why we can't see New York from England. Well, that's because you think a 10-foot wall is a 10-foot wall regardless of the distance. But there's a value you could attribute in reality to it. It's called, guess what? The apparent size. Now, what's that? You say you've heard this word apparent used quite a lot recently. Yeah, by globeheads telling us about the apparent position of the apparent horizon, redundant though it is. But their maths doesn't deal in apparent. And why doesn't it deal in apparent sizes? Well, because a 10-foot wall needs to be a 10-foot wall at any distance. So when it starts to disappear through angular size limitations, you can say it's Earth curve that's got in the way. What Earth curve's getting in the way? Well, the physical geometric Earth curve at G. Because that's your second horizon that we don't have. So, you've removed perspective from the maths, turned it side on so it doesn't represent anything like reality. I don't see my own head in this picture. It's not there. Just the observation, just H. I don't see a dot for a horizon in two different locations, G and H. I see a horizon running the full length of the image, not a pretend horizon for the maths, an actual horizon represented as a single dot. That's not what we see. This is nothing like reality at all. It doesn't have perspective, otherwise known as apparent sizes, for your apparent horizon. So this is bullshit. This isn't the world we live in. To look at this and in any way infer that this represents this is completely balmy. This doesn't represent this. It's nothing like it. You don't see the side of your own head. You don't represent things in the distance that have got very small as being the exact same feet and inches or meters value that they are when you're standing right next to them. The feet and inches value doesn't change with distance, but the angular, otherwise known as apparent, size does. Ignored to call Earth curve. That's all they've done. Hijack perspective. But now it's reached such a ludicrous stage where they're not even doing geometry anymore. What's this line got? Why is this dotted line dotted? That's giving you your geometry. Oh, because we don't see it. That's why we've got a dotted line for geometry instead of an actual line. So what we're doing, we're looking at stuff with a curved line and then doing straight line geometry. No, that's a total bastardization of geometry. So it's the end, globeheads. There is no more geometry for you to assert. You don't have an R value to trust in. You certainly don't have a curved tangent line to apply to the observations where you put us inside elevation and show us with the side of our own head. So it's game over. You've got absolutely nothing to hang your sphere religion on anymore, Muppets.
I sit back and wonder sometimes, right? I remember I had this little back and forth with Zanuck one day about the horizon, and I even had this little joke of, can you get me an address to the horizon? Like, can I get a PO box? Like, can I get there? Is there a way I can get there? And he didn't fight me too much on it, right? Because obviously at the time it was asserted to them that the horizon was physical, the geometric horizon. You know, it was physical. We see it boats go over it. So that's why I was asking, can I get an address? Can I get there? You know, as I'm telling him at the same time, but if I try to get there, quote unquote, the horizon's going to move because it's apparent, right? But at the time, he didn't say anything like that. Nobody said anything that it was apparent. It was still physical. He just didn't really want to
Hold on.
say, "Oh,
stop." All
yeah,
horizons.
I get what you mean. Apparent, yes.
Let me just say
it's
it.
always apparent.
Yeah, let me just say it then. Let me just say it. All horizons are apparent. The globe Earth horizon, right? So if we've got this semi 3D representation on screen now of a globe Earth, it's almost comparable to what they showed, but I've given it a bit of three-dimensionality when I asked the person to make this. So instead of it just being side on, you've got this effective frame of the camera in terms of it showing you what you should see through the lens. But it's still kind of 3Di's Muppet Vision. So whereas in the diagram, we're going to say the geometric horizon's here. The horizon we see is here. When we put that into some sort of three-dimensionality on a ball, they're saying what we see when we draw a tangent line from here to here is that this is the point that we're going to have a physical obstruction. That's going to be called the geometric horizon. But what we actually see, based on us drawing a physical line with a tangent to the obstruction, is going to be down here, because it's all bent light. So straight line is what we're going to use, but bent light. Remember that, okay? Bent line, bent straight, bent straight. It's like, whoa. What's with this shell game? Are we doing geometry or aren't we? Are we using a donkey dick line for what we actually have? Or are we performing actual geometry? No, we're not performing geometry. We're in Muppet Vision. In the frame of your camera, these mountains, as they're supposed to be represented, would all get smaller as they go away from you. In this frame, this mountain here is going to be very, very small. This mountain here is going to be giant-stonking enormous. It's right in front of you. Is that represented in this depiction? No, it doesn't have perspective. They're all the same bloody size. This is a 100-foot mountain. This is a 100-foot mountain. This is 100. So they're all the same size, are they? No. In reality, things get much smaller when they get further away. Like this oil platform is smaller than this one because it's a bit further away. But as soon as you turn it side on, they're all the same size, right? No, that's not how the world works. No, we don't see the side of our own head. We only see what's represented in this box. So this is a bastardization in and of itself, even if you just take the geometry as it should be done with straight lines. Because we don't experience the side of our own bloody head in an observation. We experience perspective. Things that have an actual size value in feet and inches or meters get smaller as they get further away. That's how the world presents itself to us, not geometrically. Certainly not with a sphere edge representing things getting smaller into the distance. But you'll call it Earth curve. According to the Earth curve maths, this has dropped around Earth curve. This one behind, oh, what's that you say? It hasn't dropped at all. It's still in front of the horizon. Yeah, that's why we've got a donkey dick for a tangent line now. Because apparently we're not drawing straight lines anymore, only under special circumstances where the sky vacuum has actually sucked out the air we're breathing. Not that we ever experience the sky vacuum out of space sucking out the air for us to experience the geometric horizon, because apparently if we suck all the air out, we'll see the side of our own head. No, we won't. We'll never see a geometric horizon. The thing doesn't exist. They all tell us how it doesn't exist.
I'd like to offer some cowbell for this. I just posted in Master B, so I don't see Righteous here. So Chocolate, can you put that up? All right, so you have it on screen, right?
Fictitious
Words.
geography.
Yeah. Okay, so this is from the Association of American Geographers. You would think people who know how to measure. So this is saying fictitious geography. Now, can you measure fictitious geography? Just keep that in the back of your head. In science and also in mapping, we are concerned with nonfiction generally in our work. I agree. But all too often, we lose sight of the fact that much of our nonfiction is built upon abstraction and arbitrarily agreed upon convention, like p-values, for instance. With that in mind today, I will share some words from the glossary to help us remember that right there in our nonfiction research is our own fiction that we like to call abstraction and assumption. And then they go through these topics as you scroll down: Coriolis, equator fictitious, fictitious cartography, all the way down to latitude fictitious, longitude fictitious, keep going, parallel fictitious, radius in brackets of the, not brackets, but parentheses, of Earth effective fictitious. Interesting one there, by the way. And then let's just go down to the last summary statement, right below sun fictitious mean. We should embrace the fiction in our science because understanding what we can measure and what we cannot is a very important step to understanding the world around us scientifically. What?
What we cannot measure.
What?
That's all adorable.
How can geographers talk about measurement that can't be done and say it's true?
I mean, tough man, what that sounded like to me was we have a lot of things in reality based on a lot of fiction.
Yes.
Is that kind of a summary of what you just said?
Yes, that's what Nathan just described. And here's the cowbell for it.
Excellent. That was epic. Good timing too.
Yeah, and if you just go read the radius of the Earth effective, I'll just read that one since that's the topic. A fictitious value of the Earth's radius, which when used in a formula for the distance from a point to the geometric horizon, gives the same answer as would using a true value of the radius in a formula for the distance to the apparent horizon. If the Earth were spherical and without air, tangents drawn to the surface from a point above it would define a circle, the geometric horizon, outside of which no points on the sphere would be visible from the chosen point of all points inside it would be. If an atmosphere were added, points outside the circle would become visible because of the line of the sight would curve and extend to points beyond the geometric horizon as far as a circle, the apparent horizon, of greater radius. The distance to the apparent horizon can be calculated using the same formula, as is used for the distance to the geometric horizon. I like this one. In that formula, a larger value, the effective radius, is used for the radius of Earth. The effective radius for points of observation within the troposphere is greater than the true radius and increases with wavelength of the radiation at which the observations are made. In particularly useful in determining without long calculation whether 2 points a considerable distance apart will be intervisible or able to receive each other's signals. For radio waves, the ultra-high frequencies, the effective radius is about 4/3 of a true radius. It's hard to believe people could write such garbage.
Well, it's in a category describing abstractions, right? Well, remember this quote? Math is reality. Red rhetoric. Math is an abstraction.